Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I am voting no on this bill because it poses a great threat to our fundamental right to vote, as you heard earlier from some of the speakers. Additionally, this bill was rushed through at the last minute, not giving much opportunity for clerks to comment on that, and they did comment. We had 2 clerks that came on Wednesday morning, but there really wasn't very much opportunity for input on testimony. Additionally, this bill is duplicative. We have registered voters showing an ID when they register to vote in the first place. If we're going to require voters to show their ID when they're going to the polling places, we should require the same measure for candidates that are running for office. Come on. That's why I offered my amendment to tie bar this bill to my House Bill 6096, which would require candidates to file in person, sign an affidavit, and present proper state ID. What's good for you guys, for them, should be good for us. Unfortunately, that amendment was defeated, placing a bigger burden on our voters than on potentially corrupt elected officials. But this bill isn't just duplicative and a double standard, it is discriminatory, as was outlined. It unfairly targets low-income, elderly, disabled, and minority voters who may not always have access to a photo ID or may have trouble returning to a clerk within 10 days of Election Day should they not have an ID at the polls. This is a plain attack on our fundamental right to vote. If any of us forgets our ID on Election Day, we'll have to take time off work to go to the clerk just to prove who we are. And, you know, there isn't really any record of voter fraud. I've spent a lot of time trying to find this voter fraud. As was mentioned earlier, our Secretary of State has talked about that. There was a study done by a professor at Loyola University. He found 14 cases of in-person voter fraud in the last 14 years, and he looked at 1 billion votes taken. So really, there's a better way, actually, and I've submitted a request to the Secretary of State to look into this. What we could be doing is trying to serve our constituents and the voters. And as some of you may be aware, at the polls there is an election polling book, and it's electronic. We are in the 21st century. We do have technology. I would strongly urge that instead of layering more bureaucracy, making things more difficult for our voters, we add a digitized signature that when people do get registered to vote, every clerk has it. I've talked to a couple clerks, they embrace that idea, but it would cost a little bit of money. So that would be another thing that would be real helpful, is put some money into our voting system. So rather placing the burden on the voter to prove him or herself, we could update our poll books. And that would be really being good public servants, helping our citizens with their rights. Other states are already doing this, by the way. Again, was brought up about straight ticket voting. When we spoke about that, I talked a long time about one of the problems with straight ticket voting in our state is we happen to be one of the worst states. Well, I think we're 48th right now, but I'm sure if we pass this, we'll be 50th for the worst access to voting rights in the country. We did introduce a Bill of Rights earlier this year that would enshrine in the Constitution the ability to make our votes more secure, more accurate, and more modern, using technologies that other states are using, saving the state money. Arizona is saving their state money by doing online registrations. So we do have a voter Bill of Rights that's out there, and I would urge all of our representatives here in this fine chambers to seriously consider that next year, because that's what our voters are looking for. They want to have the rights that they have worked so hard for in their birthright, to be able to have their right to vote. So please, I recommend that you don't support this bill. Thank you.